first we'll start with yours because
right.
I do see yours, and I want you to elaborate because I don't disagree, I think, but I want to know what you mean by this.
So Mel Tucker, absolute genius.
Coach for MSU.
Right. Absolute genius. So if you haven't been paying attention, MSU is just on fire. And I'll say like they've been up against bad opponents, but like
as I say, Youngstown State and a bad Northwestern team.
Okay, but they've beaten,
and that's nothing against MSU. Because you're going to hear my hot take. I'm not shitting on them. I'm just saying I'm putting into perspective for the people.
But so if you go to just the two games that Michigan State has played so far. All right. So you got Northwestern and Youngstown State. Do you know the scores in both those games? Northwestern, they beat 38 to 21.
To none.
Okay.
A lot to a lot
Youngstown
less.
State, they beat 42 to 14. Now, obviously, Youngstown State's the FCS school. Like, we get that. Yeah. We know.
That doesn't matter. It's Michigan's going against Northern Illinois this
exactly.
week. Like, it doesn't matter.
So anyway, what do good teams do against bad teams? They kill them. And is that not what Michigan State has done? I want to
beat a Big Ten team,
and it goes. I think it
goes
beyond. Also, it goes beyond like just Mel Tucker like improving like this Michigan State like team. First off, they scored a touchdown. Like no other team has scored on their first play in the Big Ten. So only Michigan State has done that, and they've done it twice.
That is
such a specific stat, and I just want.
It is not a real metric.
Okay, but let that sink in.
Around.
Michigan has 0 of those.
So does the whole Big Ten, Brad. Okay. It's the first play of the game. It's not a common thing. So, it doesn't matter.
You know who also
like Penn State doesn't either. Who cares?
You know who also has one Big Ten win and who has 0? Michigan has 0 Big Ten wins.
Well, that's because of the schedule, Brad. This doesn't mean Brad. Okay, I wanted to agree with you. I hope you know that.
Okay,
I'm
at
very
this point.
difficult.
I'm purely just ragging this on.
I understand.
But the bigger point that I wanted to get into specifically with Mel Tucker is coming in after a coach kind of fails, right? Like you've got almost as if like
saying
what Jim Harbaugh should have done
at the end of. Yeah, I was gonna say saying what D'Antonio did at the end of his tenure, his failure is an understatement. He burned that school to the ground.
And he brought it.
Well,
and the worst part is that he brought them to the pinnacle of their success for the last 50 years.
He did. And then he just wouldn't step away. He didn't know when to hang it up, and he should have. And that's coming. That's not me. I've heard that, like Spartan fans, that was the sentiment for a long time.
And that's the thing.
For the last maybe 3 to 4 years of his time there, it was just, it was bad.
So he's done a great job recruiting. Like, we know that. Like, he's done a great job recruiting and, well, not just recruiting, but showing recruits that, like Kenneth Walker III, dude comes here and just immediately rushes for 250 yards, or has shown that he can be like something when he transferred out of Wake Forest. Like showing recruits that like you can come here and be successful. And I think that that's important because you're not Alabama, you're not Georgia, you're not a school that's going to get like the biggest recruits. So you've like got to do what you've got to do. And if the transfer portal is the way that you're getting like these big names, or not big names, but just guys that have potential, I think that there's like nothing like wrong with that. So I just think that when you consider like how he's recruiting and just like showing and marketing the school too is a big thing that that like Mel Tucker's been doing. I just think that like it's like you've gotta like it. I mean, it's similar to like what you're seeing at Michigan too with I think Jim Harbaugh's like finally got that like wake up call where like, and I don't want to say anything about like Michigan because it's very hard to like trust that school when you've seen what Harbaugh's done here and it's close to nothing. So I think that like I'm a little bit more reluctant to get on that bandwagon. but still, like, you
That's
kind of
fair.
like what you see from both schools in the sense that, like, Harbaugh's, like, focusing in on beating Ohio State, like, doing what he was brought here to do. And you have Michigan State, who's, like, the coach, Mel Tucker's, like, a win's not good enough. Like, it's how you do that. It's how you win. Like, did you, like, if you are letting a team come back but you barely scrape by, like Notre Dame did with Toledo, that we'll probably get into later in the show, like, that's not good enough, right? Or like Miami just beat Appalachian State. Like, that win should not be satisfactory to you. And I think that sort of culture change is something that is helpful when you're trying to rebuild a school.
No, I agree because I have two hot takes. I couldn't settle it between two because we are going to do NFL Week 1 overreactions, and I felt like one of these, I have an NFL one and an NCAA one, and I felt like the NFL one wasn't really an overreaction. I think it's just genuinely, like, it's a hot take, but I think it's a whole point of, like, when I think of a hot take versus overreaction, an overreaction is like recency bias, whereas a hot take is something that, like, it's a bold prediction, but you're making it based off of all of the data that you have. So my first one, my NCAA one, I'll start with this because it backs off what you just said. Michigan State will finish second in the Big Ten East.
That's a really bold prediction. That is a hot take.
Behind Penn State.
Hold on, who's in the Big Ten East? You talking like Michigan State's going to finish above Ohio State?
That's my bold take.
Oh my goodness. Man, you are
Here's my reasoning. Here's my reasoning.
Oh my goodness. Ahead of Michigan?
Brad, here's my reasoning. Okay? Maybe I guess technically they might be third. It'll come down to their game, the Michigan-Ohio State game. I think Ohio State is going to lose 1 to 2 more games this year. I think they lose to Penn State.
Okay.
I think Penn State and Iowa are the two best teams in this have the potential to be the top two teams, right? I think right now that Penn State team looks better than the Ohio State team.
Okay.
And that is not, I promise, I'm not being a Michigan slappy. I'm not overreacting. This Ohio State team is very young. They're they're new. Ryan Day is coaching them up, and Ryan Day is a good coach.
Yeah,
he will get them there.
That's why I'm so reluctant to say things like that.
See, they're probably not. They're not going to the playoff this year because a one loss is hard to do it.
Right.
Maybe they still could if they go undefeated the rest of the way. It's very possible they still could, but I feel like the committee, they love the SEC, so that unless Michigan goes undefeated at this point, which imagine, I don't think it's going to happen. So I think Penn State, if Penn State goes undefeated, they could make it in. And I think they have the capability to do that. Like I said, I think Ryan Day is a really good coach, and he will get them and get that team to where they need to be. They're young right now, and they're unseasoned. They're coming off a COVID year, which was barely a real year. So there's a lot of learning curve with some of these guys. And like I said, a lot of them are young. So next year, I'm sure they'll be firing on all cylinders, and I will be shitting myself on a weekly basis because of how scared I am for them to mollywop Michigan. I just don't think this year they will. My prediction is, or my take is, that MSU looks good. I think they will wipe the floor with most teams in the Big Ten, other than I think they'll beat Wisconsin. Actually, I don't even know if they're going against Wisconsin this year.
Who is?
Michigan State.
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think they are.
They're not.
I'll pull up their schedule real quick.
No.
I just want to look and see who else would be an issue. Penn State and Ohio State. Like those, I think Michigan State could go 10 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 10 and 2. Okay. I think they will go 10 and 2. I think Ohio State could go 9 and 3.
Yeah.
Again, losing to Michigan State losing to Penn State and potentially Michigan, because if Michigan, this is a year where they should beat them, right? Because if now granted by the end of this season, Ryan Day could have that team looking a lot better because he, like I said, he is that good of a coach. So that might not happen. But I do think Michigan has a chance to finish second because guess what? I do think Michigan State beats Michigan. I do think Michigan State beats Michigan.
And it's so like God, it's and what's crazy though too is like a lot of those rivalry games can go either way. Like that's the thing, right? Just because they're rivalry games.
Well,
was Michigan State a better team than Michigan last year? Of course not. But they won that day. They did that, and I think
last year. See, here's the thing. I swear, hand to the Bible, even though I'm not religious, hand to the whatever. Last year I said none of these games matter. If Michigan had beaten Ohio State, I was going to say, like, yeah, this feels good, but it doesn't mean anything because this year doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's a COVID year where nothing is normal. So when we lost that game, I was like, you guys shouldn't have fucking lost that game. But I wasn't like, oh, no, because, again, I was like, this isn't real. None of this season is fucking real. So I understand that because, and like you said, I think most people understand that Michigan State team probably wasn't better than that Michigan team. I mean, first year head coach, new recruiting class, but shit happens because it's football and it's a rivalry game and anything can happen. So, like I said, I'm being bold and I'm going to say that Michigan State comes in second.
That's bold. I think the Big Ten East isn't like
I think worst case they finished third in the Big Ten East behind Ohio State and Penn State.
I would agree with that.
I don't think there's any. I think they finish ahead of Michigan, and I think they finish with a maximum of 3 losses.
That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy what Mel Tucker's been able to do.
It is, and I hate it as a Michigan fan, but I respect it. But
even with they played like Northwestern, but you don't just put up a shit ton of points on someone like that.